Welcome to Trading Lounge and the commodities, and starting with Bitcoin here. I'm on a monthly chart, and I'm on Bitcoin Tether on Binance, who does most of the volume. So what I want to talk about is the volume, and we're on a monthly chart here, and you can see here that these three bars that we've got here, we've got diminishing volume here. So diminishing volume confirms that this is a corrective pattern here. So we've got to kind of figure out what type of corrective pattern it is. We know that it's a wave 4. So we know out of the dozen different types of Elliott wave corrections that they can all occur in wave 4s and pretty much wave Bs as well. So we know that we're in a correction, and that's being confirmed by the volume, and that's also being confirmed by ETFs, futures and spot as well. I won't go and look at all of that. The other point that I'd like to make too is that double tops are never the end of a trend. They're Gann's words. But also too, in developing support, at a previous high, is normally a little bit time consuming, and that's also what's going on here as well. There's profit taking and there's buying coming in, so it's an emotional event, but there's no sellers here. We know that inside of this correction here, there's a lot of events that have happened, and last week the German government started to sell Bitcoin that they confiscated in the market, so creating a bit of sort of softness in the market. But we also know too that if we go, I won't go to the weekly chart here because then I'll have to break the volume down, but with all volume and the price bar here, you can read it on a 2-minute chart as well. I used to day trade stock on a 2-minute chart and read the volume like this as well. So I'm just going to go to the daily chart here, and we're going to just first of all just talk about the different types of corrections that we could have here. And it's also so this was a triangle pattern that we talked about before, and this may or may not be correct because a lot of this structure in here, one of the main points that I've been talking about is that this particular first leg down here, this is a corrective pattern. So it's a bullish corrective pattern. It's not a bearish corrective pattern. Sure, the market could come lower down here, and we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. But we also understand that that any new low that will be made will see buyers come into this particular market. It's a little bit sort of special in terms of it's got a bit of a cult following, and now it's hitting mainstream and all the rest of it. We can also see here too that the market pushed down here, and this volume here would be part of this pushing down, but it's also part of the pushing back up as well. Now, this particular move here that's pushed up was on lower volume than this bar here, so it's not really displaying strength, even though it was a fair bit of volume here. So we can't really confirm that it's going to go higher at this point. Now, we will talk about that a little bit further here. Now, I wonder if I was looking at, okay, I'm just going to use this daily chart here. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the trading levels, and we're at a medium level here. If you're a Trading Lounge client, you can ask for this template here by giving me your trading view username, and then I can just allocate this to your account. But we've also got all the trading levels on our new Elliott Wave algo and AI charting as well. So we can see that the 65 here is really the centerpiece of through this particular correction here. It's the balance line. So we originally had wave 4 here, and we could still use this as wave 1 to the upside here, and we could still use this as wave 2 to the downside here. So that's quite possible here, having this as 1 and 2 here. Now it's probably not the case, so I'm going to remove this. We did have two types of corrections that we've been talking about. There was this correction here where we had this wave 3 top here, and then we've come down for a corrective wave 4 here, and then possibly a wave 1. We had markets that just moved a little way down here, and then they could be wave 2s and moving off here. Now we also had markets, especially the smaller altcoins and total 3 and those sorts of things, that had this particular pattern here, but they're also breaking down below this low here. So in that case, they really made quite a nice sort of top here, then an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here, and then moving up here. Now it does appear now that this particular pattern is sort of folding into more of a larger ABC pattern here. So that means that this would come over to here, and we would end up having this as, I'll keep it simple. I know that you could look at this as a WXY and so on. We're going to move this here for a moment. So that means we'd end up with an A wave here, a B wave here, and a C wave here. So a lot of altcoins or smaller tokens are in that basket. So one would think that if we were going to have an ABC pattern here, then it's quite normal to take the low out here. So also too, what I'd like to talk about too is that when a market moved, this whole move that moved up here moved up higher than the 61.8%. So it's moved up very high to, top of the supply level up here. So when a market does that, then I find that it doesn't really need to come down deep over here. So the distance that it didn't take from this top here to this here, that little space there, is really about the distance that it would come down to at this point here. So it just needs to take that lower. It doesn't need to do that really, but to take that low out here and then move up from there. So we've got a situation where we can look at this from wave B here to wave C here as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down here. So I think that's a reasonable sort of an assumption at this stage with this. We'll keep an eye on the volume coming into play here as well. Now if this market, if this wave 4 here, if we took this, let's just check this out here for a moment. Let's start looking at other little scenarios. If we took this length here, we can see that from wave 2 to wave 3 here, the 38.2% is at the 63,000 here, which is this line here. So it's okay for this wave 4 here to come up to that 63 there if we use this as wave 2 up here, which would be reasonable, which is a reasonable assumption as well. So while this market is under that 63 there, then we could have another move down. We may not, but we could. If that 63 became the support for the trading level, folks, that's the top of minor group 1 of 60,000. So getting a tested support on top of the 63,000 would create the bullish move at that point. Because this particular move that's coming down here, I can also, this 5 waves that we're looking at here, I can also count that as 5 waves coming down, from the top here to the bottom here. I can also fit that in. So we could already have a low in here, but it kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to have a low in here that we haven't really sort of tested down here a little bit as well. Okay, I had to take that call because Marcy is not here, and let's just go and have a look at this little move in here. I'll just go to my other Bitcoin chart here, which is this one here. So this is It's kind of got the triangle sort of pattern there, and your indicators will start screaming at this particular point. But just because they've got a low here doesn't mean that's the low. You can get this type of thing happening here as well. But definitely, we don't really even need indicators because you can see it in the chart anyway. But folks like indicators and help us swim between the flags a little bit, so that's all good. So I can look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here and finish off. So I'm just going to go in and check on that. So I'll just go to, I think it could be on this 20 chart here. So I just want to point that out. So this would be from the B wave here as 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the third wave. The fourth wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. I mean, sometimes we see markets that have two different types of lows. We can have a low, let me just get the right thing. We can have lows like this, that V-shaped low, and then we can have lows that come in that basically, that sort of peter towards the end, this type of, I'm exaggerating it now, but do this sort of thing. So it's kind of those things, and you can get a bit of a double bottom as well if as such as well. So it's possible to have this as a low as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, because I've counted 5 waves down here, and it's all quite sort of doable at this point. It's also possible to count this here as wave 1 here and wave 2 here as well. It's a bit hard to see, but you've got a little 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 in here. So if this was over the weekend, so to speak, then that would be quite typical, of weekend sort of price action. So it's quite possible to have this as 1 or 2. There's different ways to count that here. So, I like to sort of be open-minded about if you've got a weak spot in some particular part of the pattern, then you need to strengthen it up in another part of the pattern. So if this could be counted differently at this point, this is also could be counted differently as well in this space in here as well. But I also understand around large numbers, and there's plenty of zeros on the end of the 65 here, that these big numbers tend to sort of pull people's minds and orders to itself and can skew the wave count. So it can get a little bit kind of complicated at that point. As I mentioned here before, if that this is 62 here, 61.8%. That's just a bit of geometry in the chart there. But if we look at 63 here, 63 kind of close enough there, you get my drift anyway, you can get that there. If you get support on that, then we can move to the upside, and that's quite possible. We could count 5 waves up here, so we could say, okay, well, we can see that, we could see in the last, we could see in the last sort of session or so that it's starting to, creep to the upside, and there may even be another little push in here, but let's just assume for a moment that we get pushed up to the 63 here, right? It may or may not be the case, and then we pull back in some sort of ABC correction, and then we could go up again at that point. So we'd still be looking for that support here. Once you got support here, obviously we can go on the B wave as well, but once you've got support here, then it'll be the same over here as well, and we start building to the upside here. But we know that the volume has been diminishing, coming down here. So, yeah, the only other thing I can think of is that, we have the A wave here, the B wave up here, and we have one more move to the downside here for this. I think, I can't remember, I've been looking at different charts and things. I can't remember what I've actually updated and those sorts of things here. So this is this wave 4 business here. I just want to have a look at this. I might just have a look at this on 100 ticks here just to have a quick look at what we've actually got in this move to the upside. So we could look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's kind of impulsive to that point. I'm still seeing impulse. Everything's impulse. There's nothing here telling me that we're coming down here at the moment. And this is just normal sort of price action that we would get at If we look at 61 here, 62 and 63, they're our main numbers here, and it's doing all the right things here, you know, in terms of moving to the upside. This is like the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, some type of corrective pattern here, and you know, it's just basically this particular pattern here, you know, that's what we're looking at. So it can quite easily move up to the next one, but we, you know, it's really about getting support here. So this support here would look like this. If we're going to get support, you have to wait for the first high, and then you can go on the second high, and any move up triggering those would be support at that particular point in time. So, you know, I think there's quite a good bullish case here for this as well. I mean, I can see it as being corrective, but it's just too early to tell. If we have a look at Ethereum while we're here as well, with Ethereum, also looking at this is, you know, this still keeping wave 4 here, and looking at this as wave 1 here with an A wave, a B wave here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we could still get another low to come in here as well, but it's a long way from taking these lows out down here at this point. So Ethereum is holding quite tight here as well. So one of the things that we could look for here is this wave 4 here is just starting to overlap, not quite, but this over close enough though, this wave 1 here. So if Ethereum made support on the 3500 here, then we'd be bullish at that point. So if it moved up and did it at that, you know, at this, had some sort of move up here to get support here, then you know for sure that you're in play at that point. So at the moment it's dropped and it's going back and testing the supply zone here. This is the 50-60% retracement level area here, but basically all of this here is where the supply is. So that's what it's testing at the moment. So it doesn't mean that it's bullish at the moment, it's just retesting supply, and that's just the normal pathway of, you know, a river, you know, being created, checking the banks, you know, to find if there's support or resistance there and so on. It's the same thing here as well. So yeah, a bit too early to tell at this point, but support on the 3500 would push it to the upside, and at the moment it's just retesting that supply. So yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario here is we end up down here at wave 4 taking the low out here, but it also came up here. If we put a B wave up here as an A and a B and a C up here, then it's still got a long way to come down at this point, and it can do that. I mean, it's basically tried to find support on the 35 here before and dropped from here, and it's quite natural for a bear market to you know, drop down to the next level, which is 3 here from 5, and come back up and check support. I mean, these are all checking support, resistance, this one here, this one here, this one here, this one, this one. So it's just doing its normal, you know, bear market move. It hasn't shown any signs of actually being bullish at this stage. So we need to tread lightly at this point. Okay, so enough on to the Bitcoin, but we, you know, had to spend a bit of time on it just to have a look at everything. So just to sum it up a little bit, Bitcoin and Ethereum are currently retesting supply, and they would have to move up further, 63 and 3500 on Ethereum, and develop support there to be to secure a low in place. And if that's not the case, we can still expect another move down and expect these lows to be taken, these previous lows to be taken out, but not by a long way, because the B wave was really high here. If the B wave was only up to this point here, then there would be a wider gap here, and we could add that wider gap onto the low here, you know. So it's, yeah. The other pattern, of course, is the triangle pattern that we looked at as well. Rightio. So we're going over to have a look at dollar bonds and yields. So let me just go straight from here. We can do that on the commodity side of things. So we'll look at the bonds first. So with the bonds, we're looking at we're looking at an A wave, a B wave here with an A, B, C, B wave as a triangle for the B wave, and then pushing up here for wave C, where everything's going according to plan. We called the low in, we waited for 5 waves, we waited for it to pull back, and then the next move up. And this here, so between 2 and 3 here, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. So while we're seeing the bonds push to the upside, we'll see the yields here push to the downside here. They're holding quite steady at the moment, but basically the same in reverse here. The top here, in this case, the A, the B, and the C wave here. We'll keep it simple at this point, and we're looking at wave 1 or wave A to the downside here. I'm just going to remove that actually. I don't know why I put that there, chatting about something or other. Wave 1 and 2 here. Then going down for wave 3 here, and at wave 3 we're looking for 5 waves, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 to move down to wave 3, 4 and 5 here to move down further. So basically we're in from 2 to 3 here. We need 5 waves, so we've got in orange here, we've got wave 1 and 2 here, and we're looking for wave 3, 4 and 5 down here for wave 3, and then wave 4 and wave 5, so on and yada yada yada. The only other caveat here is that the US dollar, this is not following the US dollar at the moment. So there's a divergence between the bonds and the yields to the dollar, and we need to be a little bit mindful of that, unless they can swing back in. The only way I can see them swinging back in, that's where the ABC came from, is that the move down here as an A and a B and a C wave into this point here. I need to drop this down into say minute degree here and put that in blue there. So we could view this here as a little AB wave here, and then the C wave here would be a little bit jammed in as 1 and 2 here, and 3 and sideways for 4 here as 4, and then down for 5 here, and then pushing up here. That's what the dollar's telling me that this should be doing. Is that going to be the case? I don't know. We'll just keep a bit of an eye on it. I mean, really, this should, if this is down for 1, back for 2, down for 1, back for 2, down for 1, back for 2, this is the third of the third of the third. So we should see this come down quite quickly here, down into 4%, you know. So we'll see. It's sort of being reluctant at this stage. So there's 2 things that can happen here. Because the dollar looks like it's pushing up. So when we look at the Deutsche Bank index fund here for this market, we can see that we know that all of this pattern here is really this. All of this pattern here is the same as the Dixie, except that it's pushed up. The Dixie made a new low with this one or this one here, I think. So yeah, it's really got the same pattern, but it's really pushed to the upside. And in this case, we can see that whichever way you want to count this, because I could put wave 3 here, I could put wave 3 here, there's still got to sort that out a little bit, but it still doesn't leave the fact that we need to look at a bit more move to the upside here to finish this off here. And then this low here is the same as the S&P and the NASDAQ and stuff, and it's also got this move here is the same as the S&P and the NASDAQ, you know. So the NASDAQ and the S&P were going up into this wave 3 here. We're not there yet. So and then wave 4 to come in, wave 5 or primary wave 3, and yada yada yada. It's exactly the same as the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ with my count, you know. And this pattern here is really the same as the Dixie as well. So if this has got this to finish off up here, and with the NASDAQ and that, we're calling this as wave 1 here and wave 2 here on the NASDAQ. So this really brings alive the dollar milkshake theory. And when we look at the Dixie over here, that got the bullish count on this one. This has been, the Dixie's been really sort of lazy, coming off. I don't know if you can see this being the same pattern, but the difference is that we've got a low here on this one. So this has been really, this Dixie's been stuck in the mud while the Deutsche fund here, basket of currencies, It's used for hedging other currencies. It's lifted up really strongly, but this particular pattern, if you look at it from the top here, all of this is exactly the same, except it's made a low here, but it's got all the same tops and bottoms and movements and everything. So but this one's sluggish. But this one here, we could look it up as the A wave here and the B wave up here, and then the C wave coming down here. But I think that we could also look at this as wave 1 up here and coming back for wave 2, just being reluctant to move off. But it's still got movement to move to the upside. It still hasn't quite confirmed, because we could also look at this as wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2 here. So we'll look at that. Not this one. This is not this one. That's also the bullish one. This is the bearish one here. So we need to talk about it, because we wanted to confirm the A, the B here, then 1 and ABC for 2 here, and then down here, following the yields down while the bonds move up, but it's not sort of happening. But we've got to the point now where we're at the 78.6 here for this wave 2. So any movement above these current highs here would negate any move above these current highs would negate any bearish pattern that we've got here. Then we can get rid of this we can get rid of this particular pattern once that top has been taken out there, and then we can be bullish on the dollar, bearish on the euro and cable and Aussie and all the rest of them. But we're just still waiting for that to occur there. So we'll see how it goes. The current movement that's coming back and checking the 105, the move down here, is also on lower volume as well. So it's kind of telling me that it's corrective, so we'll see how it sort of plays out. But above that, another move above there, and this pattern would turn bullish at that point. So they're the dollar bonds and yields. So we've got the dollar is drifting away from the direction of the yields at this stage, but the bonds here and the yields here are doing the mirror opposite to each other at this stage. So these two are working nicely in mirror opposite, but the dollar is making its own headway at this point in time away from the yields at this stage. So we'll see how that continues, that relationship. And this relationship, once we can confirm by the buy here, once we can confirm that this pushes up here for this here, then we've got the issue of the gold and the precious metals and the base metals, because we'll have a higher dollar pushing higher at that point, which is going to put pressure on buying less of those commodities, all sorts of commodities, whatever's traded in US dollars mostly. So then we come over to the gold market, and what we've been doing is we've been looking at the relationship between gold and silver, the dollar and precious metals, and because sometimes they go tit for tat, they do the mirror opposite of each other. And that's very helpful at times, and sometimes they just drift away from each other. So correlations are good while they last, like a trend line, so they're useful until they're not, so to speak. So we've been monitoring the dollar relationship between precious metals as well. So we'll see that we can see that. Well, let's just go and have a look. So first of all, the GDX here, GDX, really need to have a look at this on the intraday count here. But yeah, so basically we've got wave 3 up here and we're looking for wave 4. So GDX is in a better position than spot gold and silver. So let me just go into, I think I did it here somewhere. Let me just, we have been talking about it. Let me just get it together here a little bit. Okay, so GDX here with wave 3 over here, like US spot gold, and then wave 4 over here. So this is held up quite nicely. So basically caught a low in here. There's a reasonable count of having 5 waves to the upside for wave 1 here, and yesterday we were starting to look for a ABC pattern back again here. So I can see here that this is on a 45-minute chart. Not that there's anything special about that. So we've got the A wave here, we've got a B wave here, and then we've got 1 and 2, and we'll still need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5 to finish off wave C of 2 here. And then we could go up from that point. So, you know, this is why I was trying to look at, I mean, silver's breaking lower now below this, and US spot gold's still above it, I think. But GDX is holding up quite well as, you know, as a sort of strong trade. So we couldn't go, I mean, it's a little bit early here, but we could go over here once we get an impulse wave here. We start from the top and then work down. So I'll just leave it on top of the B wave there for the time being. But we'll just continue to watch this because this is the sort of stronger one out of all of them. So when we go and have a look at gold, this is US spot gold as a CFD, contracts for difference, on the monthly chart. I just thought I'd go back and, you know, have a look at this. You know, we've got a couple of wave 1 and 2 in here. This is log scale going way back here, and then we've got 5 waves up for 1 and 2 here. Then we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here. And yeah, we're going from wave 4 here to wave 5. So this wave 5 up here, and then we're looking for 5 waves in that. So we've got 1 and 2 here, and then we'll go up for 3 here and 4 here. We've been putting this, changing these colors into, trying to get all the analysts on the same coloring here, so it'll make it easier for folks to understand. But 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here, and then going up for wave 5 here of wave 5, which in my view will be wave 1 here and wave 2 again. So I'm considering a huge bull market here, you know. Anyway, that's another story. But as far as the crow flies, this is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in here, and then going up for wave 5. So I just want to say that, you know, we are going through a correction at the moment. We can see the highs being sold off, and we're in a wave 4. So a little bit like Bitcoin, we've got to kind of figure out what's going on in here, and wave 4s can get messy. So, you know, at times we don't know what's going on with them, you know. So let's just go in and have a look at that wave 4 on my other chart program here. Just bear with me while I find it. This is it here. So we've got that wave 3 up here. This is the intraday move, and I've got wave 4 over here. Now I could put wave 4 here as well. So there's different ways to count all of this. Our other analyst, Sammy, has got a good count on a triangle pattern, but you can see that on our website. I won't go there at the moment. Otherwise, we'll look at this down here as an ABC for the A wave, the B wave over here, and then the C wave down here. And the C wave would be wave 1 and 2, and going down for wave 3, and then wave 4 here, and then wave 5 here. Now, Sammy's got a triangle pattern, which would leave us with an A and a B and a C wave down here for this wave 3 here, and then push off from that point, which I kind of like as well. Now, you have to remember that we've got, if I look at this here, I could, GDX is wave 1 here, with wave 2 being over here, remember? So this would be wave 2 here. So this would be the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave for wave 2. So we've got 2 counts that could end into that. Well, this would be up here, and this would probably, yeah, it's a bit short, but anyway, I'll put it there. It could end at 23 here. So we could have this as an ABC for wave 2 coming into the 23 here, and then moving off at this point. I think either way that you look at it, what we can do, now that we kind of, you look at all the counts and all the possibilities, we can go long here like we've done on the B wave. Can we get 5 waves out of here? Yes, I can, but you any decent Elliott person would sort of at least roll their eyes and hopefully not throw anything at me. But so I'm not going to do that. But this would be the point that everything said and done, we can go long at that point. Now silver is breaking down below this move here, and this is where we also need to sort of understand, if gold's going to push higher, what influence would that have on this market? Would it push it down further at this point? So with silver here, just cutting to the chase without going into the bigger picture here, it hasn't taken the low out here just yet. I thought it had, but getting close. So I will assume that that would be the case at this point. So I've got this over here, the same thing, story, wave 3 here, with an A, B, and C wave over here for the A wave. So this would be wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the wave C of A, and then an A, B, C for the B wave here. And in this case here, we still need to go down a little bit further, not a lot, but so we started to count this down as 1 and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 for the third wave, fourth wave here. And we could look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for 1 here, and then back for 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third wave, a fourth wave here, and a fifth wave to come down here further. So we're kind of close to the end of this story here, and we'll probably get a bounce off, around this previous low area here. Could we also look at this as wave 1 and 2 here? It's possible, but I won't go there at the moment, and I won't call in a long trade here as well. Let's just wait to see what the US dollar does against this particular market before we sort of look to the upside on this. But we haven't landed down here just yet. Obviously we can go long on top of this number, but we want to get in there before that. And we've also got to make sure that we're getting, we kind of want to see, a decent 5-wave structure here, because we just see the first leg here of 5 waves. It could be an ABC and we go down again. So we want a reasonable size impulse wave, motive wave here to call a low in, and then to take action on that. Okay, so I want to have a look at base metals, and I'm going to have a look at uranium. I'm going into the bigger picture for uranium at the moment, so that's all I'll do today. I won't go into it any further, but we're looking at, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for wave 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5 for 1. Looking for an ABC pattern here. This is a weekly chart here. It's it's sort of breaking down. I've still got 2 more little lows to come into play here for this to, I don't have 5 waves down here. We're looking for a retest of this here, and for this to break lower here, and I think we need this here, and then a little ABC pattern here, and then another 5, and then we can go up at that point. Now, it could be counted, as Sammy's got it here, as an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave up here. I can see that, but I've just got a more bullish outlook on it, a much more bullish outlook on uranium. All countries are talking about it at the moment. Even in Australia, they're sort of back on the uranium side of things as well. So I just see growth in this particular sector here. It's clean energy. The French have been running it quite nicely for quite a long time. I mean, the Japanese, unfortunately, made mistakes, and also Russia and that, but the technology is getting better and better. As dangerous as it is, don't try it at home type thing. But yeah, so I won't go into the details with this at the moment. And then we're also looking at high-grade copper. So I'm just going to quickly go over to my other chart here. And so with copper here, it's a little bit like gold. We're trying to find a low in it. So I've got this as the A and the B here, and then 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A bit dodgy for 3, 4, and as I've been talking about all this week here, for this to, drop down into the top of group 1 here as well for this. It's getting a bit low for this wave 4 as well, but I'll just sort of play it out a little bit lower and then we can have a look at the bigger picture a little bit later on for it. But certainly no long trades here for this market. Now, I want to go over to the energy sector. I don't need to go to look at nickel. There's nothing happening in those markets. So I do want to have a look at natural gas. So let me just go into 45 minutes here. This is see where we were. So we've just been working through this for quite some time now, and we have been reasonably sort of on the money with this. So we're looking at, I still remember talking about this wave 4 here and having this, wave 4 sitting here to start with, and then possibly over to this one, and then over to this one here. But wave 3 and 4 here, and then up for wave 5 to make 3, and then we're looking for a pullback here. Hasn't really, this wave 4 sort of come back to this one a little bit, kind of there, but we've, as an ABC, and we've seen it sort of push up, and now it's opened up here on the Asian opening here. So we're kind of heading in the right track. We probably need to look at this as 1 and 2 here, so we could probably start looking at this here, not quite like this one, but we want to drop it down to this one. So we need to be looking at 1 and 2 and 3 up here and 4 here. Like I said, this, trading around this $3 mark here with all these 4s and 5s is not really where we're at this point. So anyway, it'll still sort of move up there, and we'll have a look at crude oil. So let me just have a look at this. So we've been looking at this as wave 3 and 4 here, and 5, which is a bit small for 5, but yeah, okay, we'll do that. Now, I don't want to call a top in here just yet for this, because I still haven't had the time to, we're not doing any trading here, but I've got this as possible 1 and 2 here, then 1 and 2 here. So that means that we could also have this as another corrective pattern here with another little wave 5 here. So I'm not sure about it. It doesn't really matter at this particular point in time. I do want to have a look at XOM that we looked at yesterday. Okay, I'm just going to clean a lot of this mess up here now. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. We'd use that. Don't need that here, but we'll just keep that there anyway. So we're going to put wave 1 up here. We're going to bring these out of the way. Put this wave 2 in here, so I've just sort of tidied it up a little bit. So yesterday we noted that we had 5 waves up here, but what I can see, and what I was going to do was, as I mentioned yesterday, look for some type of ABC back before we go up again. But it doesn't appear to be the case that we will pull back here, because it looks like this wants to push up. If we make another high above here, then we're going to have to revisit this situation here. So we'll probably need to, what's the best way to do that? Anyway, we'll probably need to look at them a little bit differently in terms of 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 to the upside, I don't think it's best way at this stage. We'll have another 2 here, and we can take these over here. We can take these over here. Sorry for messing chart, but I just want to find a way in on this, that's all. We can use that. That trade's finished. We did trade that leg up there, which was nice. So we've got to kind of figure out how we get in here. I mean, really, at this point, we could go long above here. I know it's close to the 15, and it'll sort of play out across there, but technically speaking, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anything above that, we can go long on it. and it won't pull back into this space here. I mean, it could still pull back into this space. This could be a little A wave, B wave, and a C wave back here. And if that's the case, then we'll come down and get it over here. But in the meantime, we need to be long above that top there for that. So it's looking at, you know, the energy sectors looking with a bit more strength here at the moment. So it doesn't quite feel right what I'm doing here either, as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So I've just got to find the best way to look at that. I mean, I could look at this as 1 and 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But as a third wave, it's a bit weaker. It does look better as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, but rarely do these sort of 1s and 2s play out, you know, so I'm aware of that as well. All I know is we need to go long above here, and we'll just keep the stop out the way here. It's a stock trade, so, you know, I mean, you might have leverage on it, but yeah, no, it's looking quite good at this point. I'm just going to put these over here and try to look a little bit professional and organized. Yeah, so I'm liking this bit here. This is good. Just move these over here. If anybody's got any ideas, just put them in the chat area. But there's an energy trade coming into play now. Alrighty, I'll leave it all at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.